In this video, I'm gonna go over exactly how I created this new design. Okay, I just want to mention something real fast. I had to do the drawing twice because I did the first version in a lower resolution and I didn't know until it was all done. I just don't want you to be confused when you see a lower resolution drawing and a higher resolution drawing in my video. But the original design of Cricket really was inspired by an old arcade game, Golden Axe, Revenge of Death Adder. Because in that game, there was a little boy that you could play with. It was fun. But the new design was inspired by the Ninja Turtles cartoon show, the one in the 90s, and the arcade game Turtles in Time. That game had a lot of colorful things, a lot of purple colors, had Leon lines, I think, and then there were hoverboards in that game. I thought that was pretty fun. So in my mind, this was going to be a boy with fun personality on a hoverboard, and he had a simple but colorful appearance, some exaggerated pose, some crazy gesture, fun expression. So from there, I just took it into Photoshop and did a whole bunch of different drawings. And when I got to one that had a dynamic pose, kind of exaggerated gesture, I started liking that one, and I just pushed that one. So I was given these character details, D-pads, weapons, while I was also fixing his pose. At first, I thought he was a little boring, pretty generic, so I gave him theme of like cowboy style pants and hats. But then I started thinking, well, I want to show his hair. I don't want that hat in the way. So then I look up Google to see what kind of fun hairs I could find for like little kids, and I found one that was pretty fun. I drew that on him, and I think it turned out pretty fun. So for his gun, I really wanted something to be a mix of new technology and then old style. Well, I thought that would be pretty fun, so I just went for it. After I finished my rough drawing, I moved on to digitally ink the drawing. It's usually just a polished drawing. I use a standard Photoshop brush with pressure sensitivity. I put my rough drawing under my ink layer and I set the opacity lower to maybe 20%, 30%, so I can still see it, but it's not distracting. And then I just use my pen to ink over. I want my lines to vary in terms of thickness, and sometimes I want the line to be sharper, and especially I use this on areas there shadows, areas facing the light. I tend to use thinner lines, and that's pretty much it for inking. Now for the next step, I do the base coloring layer. This is a layer I put under the ink layer. And now for coloring, I just use the lasso tool and have it set on feathering at 0 and take off anti-aliasing. I just use that to trace around the different objects. Let's say in this case, let's say the D-pads. I trace over that and I fill in a color. Once this color is filled in, it should only be one color without any feathering effect. Sometimes I will also use my magic wand tool to do selection for coloring. This is usually when my ink layer doesn't have open gaps, so it makes it easier to do like any kind of selection with magic wand. I also make sure the anti-aliasing is off on that tool as well. After all the base colors filled in, this one's very easy to change colors. I just go to the magic wand tool and set that each color, and then I just change it to whatever color I want. For example, I pick the base color on the knee pads and change it to any color, green, for example. And then I do this for the whole body. Now I don't spend a lot of time on it because I know that once I put in the shadow layer, my colors will still need to change again. The next step is to do the shadows. I put this shadow layer either on top of the ink layer or in between the ink and the color layer. To do the shadows, first I need to figure out where the light's coming from. So in this case, light is coming from at an angle slightly towards his right facing him. And the very basic idea of how lights works is that basically the shadow areas are really just where the light is not able to reach. So in general, when the wrap shadow looks good and is consistent with the lighting, has a good flow from top to bottom, has a rhythm, then I start cleaning and polish all the shadow. Once I have my ink, my color, and my shadow layers done, at this point I will look at doing extra layers that's needed. For example, if I want to do a layer for highlights, for in this case for his gun, there's highlights on it. So I will create that. But then I also would have layer that's for glow effects. Um, like for example, he's wearing a watch, some kind of device that has a light source on it. So I put in some kind of a glow effect on it, indicating that it's a light source. And then for his gun, the scope, I also put in a glow effect, indicating there's lights. So for my drawing here, and from all my other drawings in the same style, so at this point I do an overall polish. So I would do minor changes in colors, in the inking, in the shadow and lighting, a whole bunch of little things that make the characters just look a little bit better. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you have learned more about my project and characters. Hopefully, you will find my work inspiring for you and be helpful to you. Or at least, you enjoyed it watching it. If you like the video, please click like below and please consider subscribing to my channel. For any comments or suggestions, you can comment below and I will for sure reply back to you. Thank you.